Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks for clicking on to the long-range discussion for this afternoon of the 9th of January. And, you know, we've got a lot of ups and downs with regards to what the pattern's doing and the way it's evolving, folks. We have got, it's a given now that we are seeing changes taking place. The problem is that many people are jumping onto each individual model run. So, you know, 1 minute they're saying it's cold, oh, we're going to get cold and snow, and the next minute it's not going to happen. Folks, I urge you to stop paying attention to each individual run. The key to this all is, folks, that when you see a hemisphere-wide change, when you see that stratosphere warming up over the North Pole, this is a vast change. There's alterations in energy, flows aloft. This is a vast change in the atmosphere. And these individual computer runs, whether it be the Japanese, the Canadian, the GFS, European, these models aren't handling this change. They're not seeing that change with the stratosphere warming. And so the models are jumping back and forth, back and forth. It's going to be saying it's cold 1 minute, there'll be there'll be an ice age 1 minute, and then there'll be a heat wave the next. Folks, I urge you to read the pattern and see what these indices are doing. We have got a negative Arctic oscillation taking place. And what does that mean? Well, I've continuously, if you've been paying attention to the videos, I've been saying to you that the negative Arctic oscillation is a weakening of the polar vortex over the North Pole, and it's allowing that Arctic air to drift south. Big changes are taking place. The changes are happening. This here is actually off the it's actually the NCEP GFS 10 millibar temperatures, and you can see very clearly here, folks, that we are seeing a pretty substantial warming of the stratosphere over top of the pole. As Mr. Joe Bastardi would say, that if you're seeing warming over top, look out below. And he is spot on with what he's saying. I've learned a lot by Joe Bastardi over the years, and you know, I've learned a lot. A lot of the stuff that I've learned over the years has been through Joe Bastardi and many other great meteorologists at AccuWeather, the Weather Channel. That's where I've learned my stuff, folks. I haven't went to university to learn about this. It's just basically self-taught. But the pattern, the information, folks, is there to see if you want it. Do not be a model reader. Do not be drawn in by each individual run. Because like I've said in Facebook, if I was reading each model run, I would have 3 or 4 different forecasts every single day. It's understanding the pattern, the physics, and the drivers that are involved here, and we are seeing the clear changes taking place. This is a pattern that is not going to evolve overnight, folks. Like I said, it's a large-scale change in the overall atmosphere. Heck, we'll never understand just how much alteration and how vastly different the atmosphere is changing as that stratosphere starts to warm, transfers that Arctic air, that brutally cold air, folks, that's been building over the Arctic for the past few months. And what that does is, I've said it all along, that once this flip takes place, if this flip takes place, and it is doing so, we need to watch out in the mid-latitudes, because I'm very concerned about what's taking place here down the road for Asia, North America, and indeed Europe. Let's look at the current European model. There has been, of course, changes taking place, and I'm not getting too bogged down by these changes, but we are looking for signals. We're looking for persistency within these models. It's still a good 10 days away until Europe really sees the difference in cold, and particularly so across western parts of Europe. The cold is going to arrive earliest in Eastern Europe. As well as that, it's going to arrive, and it is doing so, in Asia. So the mid-latitudes of Asia, China, the Koreas, Japan. You're looking at very cold weather. North America, watch out. The cold at the end of this week will be a mere teaser as to what you're looking for next week. It's going to be brutally cold at this time next week and beyond that. And of course Europe as well. So let's look at the Asia model first. Have a skip through the sequence. You can see that clearly the persistency with this southward migration of the Arctic air. You notice that. Look at how it's drifting southwards. That would suggest the negative Arctic oscillation is taking place. Look at how cold Asia is at the moment, and it's drifting southwards, as you can see. This is for Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, and Sunday the 15th. You can see here the changes taking place. Let's look at North America. This is quite an interesting one. Let's skip back to Monday the 9th. That's of course today. And you can see here generally a very, very mild looking map across the majority of Western Canada and pretty much all of the United States. In fact, we've been seeing record warmth up here across Western Canada in particular. Notably high temperatures for this time of year. But folks, this exact region is going to be a very different set of events next week. I'm going to skip ahead actually out of interest by Monday. Let's skip to Monday the 16th. And look at how different that map is. The dislodge of the Arctic air, it fills Canada with frigid Arctic air. Let's skip through the sequence here. By Tuesday, notice how the cold air intensifies and expands. By Wednesday, look at that. That is a frigid air mass over Canada. And I do believe, folks, as well, that this Arctic air is actually going to be further south than what this European model suggests. By Thursday, check that out there. That is a very, very cool looking map. Believe me, folks, this cold is happening whether you like it or not, and I think just time basically will prove that. Let's look at Europe, and I'm looking at a few interesting factors taking place here. Tuesday, Wednesday, notice how the cold is starting to fill eastern parts of Europe. That's your bias towards this general downward trend in temperature. Your bias is towards Eastern Europe first. Notice that. Look at how deep that trough is by Friday. Wouldn't surprise me if we've seen some snow across northern parts of the UK. Look at that there. The model is similar to yesterday, where it's shown this very large trough covering a large part of Europe. And, of course, very cold air within that as well. So I'm watching, folks, the persistency in this model to continue showing this here. It's trends that you're looking for. It isn't individual runs, but it's basically a collage of runs and what that's telling us. Look at how the cold expands and actually intensifies as well by Monday of the 16th. Tuesday, it's just going to take a wee while to load up, as typical that. Wednesday, and you can see by Thursday, the cold persistency. Yes, Western Europe is looking mild. I don't think it's going to be quite as mild as that next week. But certainly, like I've said to you, that I don't believe that, you know, we can't, the NAO is trending neutral at the moment. And I think what we're looking for here is the downward trend into a negative North Atlantic oscillation. The cold in Western Europe may take a little bit longer, but certainly eastern and central parts of Europe, even by next week, folks, is going to be very cold. And that is the trend that I'm looking at. The Arctic oscillation, like I say, is going negative. It is negative. And there's a lot of things to look at. Continue to keep checking back. I'm going to try and keep you as much up to date as possible in this. It is an exciting pattern. It is going to be a cold pattern. It looks as if we have a very cold pattern. See, by the end of January, folks, I would be shocked if we don't have the majority of the UK covered in snow and very cold temperatures. And I'm very concerned that once this pattern locks down, we get blocking over the top, then we have a very cold late January through the majority of February and perhaps even March as well. This, folks, could be a massive turnaround across the hemisphere from warm to very cold. Stay tuned. I'll keep you up to date. Have a great evening, folks. Bye-bye.